Good day, everyone. In today's lecture, we will learn about how reflections work in Unity. In earlier lectures, you must have seen how a mirror material is being made. So let's look at how the mirror material actually acts and whether it does it really reflect the objects nearby. So for doing so, what we use is something called as a reflection probe. A reflection probe is like a 360 degrees camera that reflects the surroundings onto the game object. Now, to better understand it, let's create a simple a plane along with a sphere and a couple of cubes. So let's do that. So I'm using the hierarchy menu first to create a plane. I'll start the automatic generating lighting. I'll create next a 3D object called a sphere. Is the sphere here. I'll create a set of cubes just to make sure that cubes are getting reflected. I'll create. So I have created a couple of cubes. Now let's create a mirror material which I need to act on this, which I need to apply onto this sphere. So for first that we will create a folder called as materials. Now we'll create a mirror material. So let's click on create material and let's say mirror. So and let's apply it to the sphere. Now as you have seen, to have a material a material to be like a mirror, what you do is you take the metallic slider and take it all the way up to 1 and the smoothness slider all the way up to 1. So now you can see that the sphere has a mirror material, but it's only reflecting the sky. It's only reflecting the sky and the directional light, but it's not reflecting the cubes that are right next to it. So that is weird. If it's a mirror, it should reflect everything. For now, it's just reflecting the world around it. In the sense, just the sky and the sun. So how do we actually make it to reflect the cubes that are present around it? Just to understand it a bit more, let's add materials to these cubes also. I'm creating a material, say red, and I'll add this material to the center cube. I'll do one thing, I'll add an emission to the material also. An emission with a color of red. Right now it's emitting that red color, and what I'll do is in the albedo also I'll make it I'll look like red, and I'll create another color, this material which is called as green. I'll create this green and I'll add it to the first cube and to the third cube. And if I say this, I'll create the material over here and I'll add an emission to it. So still you can see that the mirror material is not reflecting the surrounding cubes. Now this is so because right now it is not ready to reflect those things. So for reflecting the surrounding game object, if a game object has to reflect a surrounding game object, a property called as reflection probes are used. So this reflection probe, as I said earlier, is like a 360 degrees camera. So it takes all the game objects that are around it and actually showcases that object. So let us create that reflection probe on the sphere. So you go and you select the sphere, go and add component, and you let's say reflection probe. Now you see that it's all dark. What I say it to be real time. Now you can see over here. If you see over here closely, now it's reflecting the surrounding. Now it's reflecting the surrounding cubes also. So what has happened now? It has taken the surrounding cubes and it started to reflect now. Is because of the reflection probes. That's why it is able to see that. So if you have to create a proper mirror which is reflecting the surrounding probes, this is what the option is there. So let's look at these options more in much more detail. So right now I'm looking at real time and versus baked. So baked again happens only once. So we'll be looking at baked lights at a later stage. But what we use mainly is always the real time lights. So that it happens in real time. It's always updating. Another thing that we see is the refresh mode. So refresh mode has a couple of options such as on awake and every frame. So what we do is on awake is happening right as the game object is first in the frame, and what happens in every frame is in every frame it updates the reflections. So depending on how heavy your game is getting or how heavy your VR experience is getting, you might want to select these options if you want the reflections to update on every frame or just at the beginning, just on the update part of it. So depending again on the how is the VR experience you want, so that's how you want it again. So in the runtime settings we see the importance and the intensity. So let me tell you about importance. So think about a ghost. Now you want a ghost to suddenly come in your VR experience and then disappear. Now you can set the importance of the ghost. You have to use a reflection probe on the ghost such that it appears and then disappears. So you can use the importance property for simulating a ghost. The intensity is again the intensity of the reflection probe. You can see over here the intensity is changing. The box projection and the box size. So it's selecting the box projection. It's selecting the box around how much is actually reflecting. If you see the resolution, you can see the different kinds of resolution, right from 128 bits to 2048. So it's very much useful. So you can set the resolution of this reflection. So and you can set the shadow distance also. So one of the things that you will see is the resolution becomes very much important in actually simulating how good the experience has to be. Now, another thing that I want to focus on is the clipping planes. Now, think about these objects which are very close as compared to objects which are a bit far away. Do you want the far away objects also to reflect in the reflection plane? So, depending on how you set the clipping planes, you can set whether only the near objects are needed to be reflected as compared to far away objects. So this is the use of the reflection probes. So just to summarize, if you want to use like a mirror kind of effect, or if you want a game object to reflect from the other game object, you want to say the illumination or the colors you want to reflect on the game objects, you use a reflection probe in such cases. And I would encourage you to start working with this reflection probe so that when you have an entire physics game, which all these various game objects, you want these game objects to interact with each other. So you want the effect of one game object on the other game. So that will actually give it much more realism. So I would request you start looking at these and experimenting on this. Thank you very much.